Okay, let's look at the answers together. So, if you've done everything right, you could say that the first sentence involves functions like reason and result, because it talks about how doing a potentially dangerous activity leads us or causes improved speed of thought and reaction time, basically health and well-being. So this causal relationship, because something happens, it leads to something else, is a reason-result function. The second sentence does a very good job at providing an example, as you might have guessed by the linker in particular. In this example, the example is boxing. The fourth one, the linker despite, probably gave it away. And since it introduces a different point of view, still reinforcing your original one, it is a contrasting view function. Lastly, sentence 6 provides an additional point, saying that not only a contact sport, but any kind of risky sport, risky activity does that, does improve your health and well-being. So these 5 functions are very good for developing your topic sentences within the paragraph. And the coolest thing is that you can basically combine them in every possible combination, as long, again, as long as all of the ideas are relevant. So, as some practice, we're going to look at a good sample essay. Well, not the full essay, but the paragraphs, the body paragraphs of a good, I would say, easily 7.0 essay. The task says, in many countries around the world, life expectancy is increasing. Discuss the advantages and disadvantages of this situation and give your own opinion. Now, for most efficiency, I'd like you to stop the video, read the paragraphs carefully, and try to deconstruct what they say. Basically, where is the topic sentence in each paragraph? Where does the author develop it with a reason, with an example, with a contrasting view, possibly? And we're going to look at it together in a minute. But you should know that a good idea would be to start your paragraph with a topic sentence and then develop it. Or if you're aiming at a bit higher, you could first develop and then introduce your topic sentence as a micro conclusion at the end of the paragraph. And I will see you in a minute. Now, if you decided not to stop the video, let's look at it together. Now, I'm using a color code here, and I decided to highlight the topic sentences with yellow and the rest of the functions in different colors. Now, let's look at the first paragraph. Obviously, the first one deals with the disadvantages. And in my opinion, there are 2 main topic sentences, so 2 main answers to the question, what are the disadvantages of life expectancy increasing? The author basically says that one issue with an aging population is it can create enormous demands on a nation's health service. And another downside is that living longer does not necessarily bring happiness. Now, everything within the paragraph and between these topic sentences has to fall into some category. It's either a reason, a result, an example, an additional point, or a contrasting view. In my opinion, the chances of people suffering from serious illnesses increases is a reason. It's a reason of, is it really a reason? Wait a second. No, it's a result. Yeah, it's wrong. Let me correct this. I think this is a result of people living longer. So the longer people live, the more chances there are for them to start suffering from serious illnesses. Now, as a result, the likelihood of them requiring medical treatment becomes higher. Well, this is a result. And it becomes more difficult to provide care for everyone. So we're moving through a three-stage causal relationship, a chain with three links. Old age leads to serious illnesses. Serious illnesses lead to more resources needed. And if you're able to build this sort of multi-linked chain within your paragraph, this is going to be regarded very highly by the examiner because this increases your coherence and cohesion. Again, if you're doing a long chain, but some of the links are irrelevant, it just breaks the whole thing apart. So it has to be very, very fitting to the topic. Let's carry on. A further downside is that living longer does not necessarily bring happiness. That's, as I said, another disadvantage. So it's basically another topic sentence within the paragraph. By this I mean, an older person is unable to do many of the activities that they want to do. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's an example. Leading to the likelihood of depression and the deterioration of their physical health. Likelihood of depression and their physical health becoming worse is obviously a result. Why did I mark it as a reason? It is, of course, a result of them not being able to do a lot of the things they used to be able to do. And what happens between these phrases is basically linkers. Of course, linkers have to be very fitting to the function. For example, leading to is an example of a result linker. By this I mean is clarification, or in this case, an example. As a result is a linker of result. And wait a second, if it is a result, you will ask me, why is this marked as a reason? And you would be absolutely right. As a result, the likelihood of them requiring medical treatment becomes higher. Of course, this is the result of serious illnesses. Now, I should probably be more careful with that. So this is basically what a good paragraph involves. A topic sentence and the development of this idea with the 5 basic functions. All of them have to be relevant and they have to be connected with relevant linkers. We'll look at the linkers a little bit later, but let's just look at the second paragraph together. As I said, it talks about advantages, and the first one is young people can benefit for a longer time from the wisdom handed down to them by older members of their families. Very good topic sentence. It is often comforting to seek advice from older generations. In my opinion, this is an example. Consequently, is a linker of result. The physical health of grandparents is almost irrelevant, as the children and grandchildren will benefit from the experience of an older mind. I am probably colorblind because, again, I confused these two. As the children of grand and grandchildren will benefit from the experience of an older mind is the reason, as is a very good reason linker. And the physical health of a grandparent is almost irrelevant, is the result. What is more, retired people today are generally much healthier than they have ever been and often enjoy their lives more than they did when they were young. Now, what is more is a very good linker of an additional point. And it is an additional point, but it's not pink here because I wanted to show the connection between retired people are healthier as a reason of them enjoying their life. So you could make this whole sentence pink, and that would be correct. I just wanted to show the reason-result connection. And they have the best of both worlds, a family that can take care for and look up to them, and better health than at any time in human history. Now, I marked it as a reason for the topic sentence. Why are they living longer and are providing the wisdom? Well, because they have a family that care for them and that they look up to them. So, as an exercise, I'm going to give you an assignment where you'd be able to do this type of activity on your own. As you see, it's not as easy, and I would suggest you do it at least once before you attempt to write a nice cohesive paragraph on your own. So as long as you think in these terms, a topic sentence and 5 branches of development, you're good to go. Now, speaking of the linkers, here I have another task for you where we have some gaps. And the gaps need to be later filled with linkers. But first, I'd like you to look at the gaps and try to fill them with linkers using your own ideas. Shall we look at them together? Now, the task says, in terms of personal health and fitness, what are the advantages and disadvantages of living in a busy city? If we deconstruct the whole paragraph, we'll be able to see which linkers are missing. Now, one positive aspect of a city life is that there are generally a large number of fitness complexes available for members of the public to join. It is obviously a topic sentence. I should probably drag the color code here so we don't get confused. Not only that, but most of them cater for the requirements of all their customers. This is an additional point which is just there for extra development. Now, in my city alone, there are somewhere in the region of 200 individual facilities. In my city obviously narrows down the topic a bit, so it is an example. A relevant example, but an example nevertheless. So good linkers of examples? Well, for example, for instance, that kind of thing. Now, these gyms are often parts of larger chains. Looks like something disconnected from the previous one, but still relevant, so it's probably an additional point. In addition, or secondly, would be good linkers here. Although living in rural areas is traditionally assumed to be better for one's health, the sheer quantity of available facilities in modern cities means that this stereotype is changing. Now, this is tricky, isn't it? It's got two functions in one. But I would concentrate on the blue one, which is a result. Now, linkers that help us express a result are thus, therefore, or consequently, any of which would fit in nicely. But why don't we focus on the green function a little bit, because we didn't actually talk about it much. Now, a contrasting view, as I said, introduces a different point of view, but it still has to support your own original idea. And for this, it is very good to think in terms of linkers of contrast. Words like although, however, despite, the fact that, etc., etc. Basically, no contrasting view has to appear in your paragraph without some kind of linker of contrast. Otherwise, it is not going to support your original idea. And here we've got the contrast between the belief that living in the countryside is better, and that accessible gyms and facilities in the city make us healthier. And by using although, the author here says that although the belief is there, it's just not true, in my opinion. So it doesn't outweigh, actually. So just to complete this, these are the linkers that would fit. Now, in the first one, which we decided was an example, any of these three would fit. Let's go with, for instance, the second one as an additional point, any of these. Moreover is a good one. And lastly, we decided it was a result, a consequence of everything we've heard so far. Let's go with because of this. So this is basically it. This is how you write a nice, connected, cohesive paragraph. Just to reiterate, you start with a topic sentence, a sentence that basically answers the question in the task. Then you develop it using the 5 functions. As we said, they are reason, result, example, additional point, and contrasting view, which you can use in any combination as long as they're relevant. And lastly, no good score for coherence and cohesion is given without good, correct, and diverse use of linkers. Linkers have to be used in accordance with your functions. Now, to make sure that you understand it, I'm going to give an assignment with a couple of exercises, and I finally want you to start writing, because in previous sessions we've only planned, but right now it's time to pick up the pen or a keyboard and start. I'll see you next time.